Hi, first grade friends. Happy Monday. All right, we're going to start with a new story this week, a new comprehension skill, and we're going to be diving into character traits again. Now, we've done this before with things like Make Way for Ducklings or Farfalina and Marcel. So I know you guys have been pros at it. So we're going to do it a little bit more. But before we do that, let's look at our story and then talk a little more about our comprehension skill. So our story this week is Chicks and Salsa. That title's kind of funny to me. Can you think of why that title is a little silly? I'll give you a hint. It sounds an awful lot like something you might eat. What does it sound like? If you guessed chips and salsa, you're right. So it sounds a whole lot like chips and salsa. And when I look at the cover, I notice that kind of makes me think of Mexican food. Now, what do you think this story might be about? Before we read, I want you to turn and talk and predict. What do you think the story's about? We haven't read it, and all we're looking at is the cover and thinking of that title, Chicks and Salsa. Turn and talk. What do you think it's about? All right. Now, before we listen to our story, let's just review character traits a little bit before we listen, okay? So we're going to look at our anchor chart. And when we read it, it says character traits. When you look at what a character says and does, you will be able to describe the character's personality or traits. Remember when we talk, sorry, friends, it kind of reflects a little bit. Remember when we talk about character traits, we're thinking about the character on the inside, not what they look like, but more so how we would describe them from what they're doing. So I'm going to give you an action, and I'm going to read this quote to you, and I want you to turn and talk about what you think that character might be like on the inside. Think about a character trait. So it says, using action. Dad always says, practice makes perfect. So we spend lots of times hitting baseballs on the weekends. How might you describe someone that is practicing during the weekends and trying to make themselves better and better at something? I might say that they're hardworking. And that would be a character trait on the inside because they keep trying and they keep doing better and better. They're definitely hardworking and making sure that they're doing their best for baseball. Then using dialogue. So remember, dialogue is characters talking. So it says, Jamie, I believe in you. You have such talent and drive. You will be a star one day, said Mrs. Joseph. So Mrs. Joseph must be the teacher. How could you describe Mrs. Joseph when she's talking to her student and telling them that she believes in them and how much talent they have? We might say she's kind or uplifting or positive. Because of the way she's talking, she's giving kind words and motivating her student to make sure that they believe in themselves. So today we're going to be using actions and dialogue to help us describe our characters. So notice here I said Rooster's character traits. So sometimes in the story, I might stop and have you think about a character trait. I might jot one or two on here, but I won't do all of them. I want you to try and think about how you're going to describe our main character, the rooster, in this story, okay? So we're going to listen for our vocabulary words. If you hear them, you give us a good thumbs up because that means you're listening for them. And then we're going to stop at different parts and do some turn and talk, okay? Now, remember for turn and talk, if you're not done talking and Miss Murphy is still saying something, that's okay. You can just pause the video, okay? So chicks and salsa. Sorry, friends, I'm always trying to figure out how to fit this. All right. There were grumblings in the hen house of Nut Thatcher Farm. The chickens were tired of chicken feed. The rooster took it upon himself to solve this problem. What were they grumbling about again? Can you think? Turn and talk. What do you think? We just read that sentence. And why do you think they're grumbling about that? Do you think you would want to eat the same thing every day? How would you feel? Maybe make a prediction. What do you think the rooster is going to do? Mrs. Nuthatcher, the farmer's wife, had started watching cooking shows in the afternoons. The rooster was perched on a fence post outside the farmhouse window when he discovered the solution to his problem. And then we see him say, salsa! Do you think that will solve the problem? Now let's see what's happening. Led by the rooster, the chickens crept into the garden where they took tomatoes and uprooted onions. I notice here, that my rooster seems to be telling everyone what to do and taking charge. So maybe think about how you could describe the rooster when he's telling the chickens how to take care of everything. What could we call him? That would be his actions that he's doing. That night, the chickens ate chips and salsa, and though nobody was quite certain where the chickens got the chips, the tasty tang of tomatoes and onions hung over the barnyard, and the rooster said, "Olé!" What a silly rooster. When you're looking at the pages, and I'm going to zoom in on both of the pages, I want you to see if you can tell where they got, the chips from. Can you see? So this one you need to do some detective work, but where are they getting the chips? How do the chickens seem now that they've eaten their salsa? I definitely see a change in their attitude now that they're eating the chips and salsa instead of that chicken feed. Turn and talk. How are the chickens feeling now? Very soon, there were mumblings at the duck pond of Nuthatcher Farm. Inspired by the chickens, the ducks decided that they were tired of fish. With the rooster's encouragement, the ducks dipped into the garden where they selected cilantro and gathered garlic. And I see, my rooster over here watching them. What do you think they're going to make? That night, the ducks ate guacamole, though nobody was quite certain where the ducks got their avocados. The spicy scent of garlic and cilantro hung over the barnyard, and the ducks said, "Olé!" Again, I'm going to zoom in on the page, and I want you to see, can you figure out where did those ducks get the avocados? The next morning, there were rumblings in the pig pen of Nuthatcher Farm. Overwhelmed by the enticing aromas, the pigs decided they were tired of slop. I'm noticing that rooster started something and has inspired a whole lot of animals to change some things. So think about maybe how we could describe him. What do you think the pigs will do? Also, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on that page. I see someone hiding back there. Who is that? Wonder if they're going to be a part of this again. While the rooster distracted Farmer Nuthatcher, the pigs plodded into the garden where they borrowed beans and chopped chilies. So now I've noticed an action. We listen and are told that rooster distracted So here's an action, over here, where Rooster's distracting the farmer. How could we describe him with that action? What is he doing so that the pigs can get all the different ingredients from the farm? How could we describe him? Turn and talk. And I want you to think about how you could describe the rooster. And that night, the pigs ate nachos, though nobody was quite certain where the pigs got the nacho cheese sauce. Who do you think gave them the nacho cheese sauce? Now remember, we've seen this character a couple times, so even without zooming in, can you turn and talk? Who gave them that nacho cheese sauce, first grade? The delightful deliciousness of cheese and chiles hung over the barnyard, and the pigs said, "Ole!" As everyone knows, when a passion for Southwestern cuisine takes a hold of farm animals and so many sumptuous, spicy, and savory scents collide in the barnyard air, it can only lead to one thing. What do you predict is going to happen? What is it going to lead to? We have all these different Southwestern cuisines. Now, Southwestern means a type of cuisine, kind of like Mexican food when we think about food that's spicy, like guacamole or tacos. What do you think is going to happen now that we have nachos, guacamole, salsa? What do you think they'll do? Fiesta! The rooster got things organized and then returned to his fence post to watch for a good enchilada recipe. The horses decorated the barn, and the bull practiced his Mexican hat dance, though nobody was quite certain where the bull got the sombrero. I'll zoom in again, see if you can figure out, where did the bull get that sombrero? All right, so we have a fiesta, and we also notice that the rooster got everything organized. Again, another action you can look at. How would you describe someone that gets everything organized and puts it all together? How could you describe the rooster for putting together this huge fiesta? And the chickens, ducks, and pigs snuck into the garden. But all of their spicy Southwestern supplies were gone. Oh no, where do you think they went? Notice how the illustrator shows their emotions. They all look very concerned. The scallions had been stolen. The peppers had been pilfered. The limes had been lifted. But there were slurpings in the kitchen of Nut Thatcher Farm. Stirred by the succulent smells in the barnyard, Mrs. Nut Thatcher had decided to make tamales for the county fair. A saucy sweetness hung over the farmhouse kitchen, and Mrs. Nut Thatcher said, "Ole!" I don't think their plan went perfectly. Disappointed, the animals canceled their fiesta. And that evening, the chickens ate their chicken feed, the ducks ate their fish, and the pigs ate their slop. How have their feelings changed again? Turn and talk. How do you notice they feel now? But while the Nut Thatchers were at the fair, the rooster crept into the kitchen and borrowed a French cookbook. The next morning, the rooster ate crepes with white grapes in champagne sauce, though nobody was quite certain where the rooster learned how to read. What do you notice about that? How did the rooster learn how to read? What's happening? How would you describe the rooster when all of the food gets taken away from his fiesta and he decides to sneak into the kitchen and find a new recipe to do? How could you describe him? Did he give up? It doesn't seem like it. A satisfied smile stretched over the rooster's beak, and the rooster said, "Ooh la la!" maybe think about those words when he says, ooh la la, how could you describe the rooster based on those words? On the back of the story, we have some recipes, and I will post those to Facebook in case you want to make some guacamole or roosters roasted salsa at home. All right, now I said we were going to brainstorm some ideas. So before we go, I'm going to tell you what your homework or your work for today is, I should say. Sorry, not homework. So you're going to think about some character traits for Rooster. So you should have turned and talked a couple of times about some things that Rooster did in the story or some things that he said. Now, when you write, I want you to remember that you should probably have at least 2 sentences. The first sentence should tell me, Rooster is blank. And you should describe a character trait, something that you can describe on the inside from what he's doing or what he says. And then I want you to tell me why. So you could even make it one nice sentence and say Rooster is blank because, but it should give me a reason from the story. So you can't tell me Rooster is unhappy because because that's a feeling. I want you to think about what Rooster does in the story that's on the inside. That happens. So what does Rooster feel? What is he doing? So if I think about it, I might say that Rooster is smart, right? And that's a character trait because of his actions in the story. Now, you need to think about, can you think of a reason that he's smart in the story? I might think that the rooster is helpful. Now, I want you to think about a time in the story when Rooster is helpful. If you're going to use one of these words, you want to make sure you're thinking of why. I'm not going to tell you why. So you can turn and talk and think about how you could describe him as helpful. Another word I might use to describe him is that he's silly. Now, are there other character traits for Rooster? Definitely. There's lots of things he does in this story that you can describe. And there's lots of ways you can describe him from his actions, especially. What he does kind of helps you to describe him. So you can use one of these 3 words, but I want you to remember to tell me a part in the story that showed you that trait or that personality trait of him, okay? And then you can draw a picture. Maybe it's your favorite part in the story, or maybe it's the part in the story that shows you that trait. If you need to go back, go ahead and go back and listen. But awesome job listening to this story. Do your very best. Try to think about an action and how you can describe our rooster from it. Okay? Have a great day.